Right, so we are back with another one. I'm on this screen trying to get my stuff together. Got the Firefox set up, and hopefully this will be running up, getting some people to join. And look over here, trying out this because I'm about to get ready to shut down my StreamYard because can't use my Bluetooth. But when it comes down to it, for the most part, I was just dealing on another channel, and basically, I don't think I'm gonna be letting too many people on due to the fact that me actually trying to figure this thing out with this chat over here, with this streaming service. But for the most part, you know, for everybody that know my channel, I always talk about Alonzo, talk about life insurance and things to that nature. You know, elderly care is a must. You know, setting yourself up when you get old, whether you have a 401k, you're putting into your Social Security. So for people who don't have a regular job, you can also pay into your Social Security. You can look into that. And oh yeah, now that I'm into giving out information, I have to say this, that I'm not a financial advisor nor a licensed life insurance professional, you know, but I play one on YouTube. I just do this on the side. I just playing, but I do this as a lifestyle, man, to get people more focused on, prepping and planning for the future. And to a degree, when you really look at things, um, you have to start planning and preparing now, for your future, seeing things that you gotta take heed that you need done in life. And in most cases, always have to have an understanding of what you're doing, having an understanding of what you're dealing with. I mean, to the degree, a jack of all trade and a master of none. Learning as you go is key on the fly. You know, I learned how to work on cars, by talking with people, looking at videos, dealing with people that actually know how to work on cars to the degree, in and everything that I do, welding. I know how to weld. My grandfather and most of the men in my family on that side come from a line of welders who actually weld, have burglar bar companies. Now the alarm companies and everything are kind of taking most people to the business to where they don't need welders anymore. But you have window bars, you have cages for your AC units. People are still selling copper. People still sell AC units. So to a degree, welders, are in demand. What if you have a frame needs welding? Most people have trailers. Those trailers built with not so good material, not raw iron material. They tend to break. Aluminum, little I forgot the name of the ones that they sell for the Home Depot. It's like real hollow, not solid bars, metal bars. So those hollow aluminum bars, man, you can break those with a screwdriver when breaking in people's houses. And believe it or not, man, my granddad, he tore up more of burglar bars right in front of people's face just with a regular old screwdriver and stuff. And the people, and he gave him a discount when he took the other ones away that he broke, and it's to the degree protecting your family back in the day. Those burglar bars were a must, even on the windows. It's almost like he was in a prison or a jail, but sometimes to the degree protecting what's on the inside, you know, not just your home goods, but your family was more important than, trying to save a couple of dollars, especially if you're in a, rough or some kind of degree area where it's, not pleasant. But for the most part, having an understanding with, spending your money wisely. That's how I learned about dealing with burglar bars, even with welding frames. I never got into the whole aspect of welding. You know, water welding. I know that pays a lot of money, man. Um, to the degree I can almost, get in just minimum, not nothing that's too advanced. Tack welding and all that. I took on that real easy. Actually welding pipes and stuff together. To the degree I have a little, a little what interest in that with torches as well. Using torches to, either cut or kind of almost solder things together. Um, to a degree, learn a little bit, not as much as I can call myself a pro, but to a degree, I know what I'm doing. Plumbing, took on a responsibility of learning that because just like all the other trades, and back in the day with men, they tend to kind of want to do things on their own because it's cost efficient. For me to call a plumber, have a issue with my toilet, I could do it myself. You know, saves me money. Same thing with putting the chair. Yesterday, I got one of my chairs. My son kept leaning in, and it broke down. I took all the nails out, got some glue, Gorilla Glue for wood, and put it back together. You know, most people just sit there, get rid of the whole table, or just buy whole new sets of chairs just because they can't, do something simple as gluing the chairs back together and making it work, not knowing that you got to take the nails out if they have nails in it or not. So, to the degree, like I say, with most people, if they're not knowing these simple things, it's kind of hard for them to, work this process. But mainly, like I wanted to get into, like always, is about life insurance and knowing the proper insurance to take care of you. And Lonzo, he does a pretty good job of breaking things down. One of the key things that I wanted to touch on what he was talking about, and one of the recent videos I watched was actually having the information available for your family. You know, say you have life insurance and no one knows you have it, what good is it? You know, to a degree, you can have insurance through your company, but if you die and your family don't know the name of the insurance company or pretty much don't have any access to it because let's say you died on the job and your family has a potential to sue the company. They would feel some type of way on giving you that information even though they have to, but they could prolong the information, especially considering that you can sue them, you know going into that frame of mind. With let's say you have it some assets, business transactions that you deal with people. Let's say you're a partner in a corporation or LLC company, and you die. What if your wife don't know about the proceedings, as far as the dividends that need to be split up with that? How they able to benefit from that which they don't know? It to a degree where you say you never let you know what your right hand and your left hand doing. Yeah, it gets to a point where that's cool, but you got to have things in play. Talk to people, people you can trust. Always have a second backup plan. That's why trusts are very much important to where you can put things in a trust to where if you can't trust your wife or don't want your wife to know things, put it in the trust. Let her know that you have a trust and it's set up for if something goes on, she can take that responsibility and contacting that lawyer, contacting, a friend or something that has a will for you if you don't want to give her all that information. And let's say you do give her that information, you know, seeing that things are actually taken care of the way you want. You might have $200,000 in your life insurance policy and you got two kids. You want to take each kid and give them $50,000 and leave your wife to be 100,000, and not knowing, you know, that wife can take that money and, ride into the sunset with it while the kids just thinking you're a horrible dad. I knew of a person that had a situation that happened to them like that. It was quite, you know, weird that it happened, but a guy was saying that to a degree, a family member had took some money that was set aside from their dad and just took it all out of the account. Had the kids to sign off on it, took it all out of the account, and spent literally all the money. And when the dad was able to get in touch with the kids and talk to them, to let them know that, hey, I set some money aside for you guys. When you turn 18, did you get it? Did you buy your cars like I planned on you doing it? And it didn't get done because, technically having um, a trust to, these things will happen, and the guy wasn't even dead. It was just the separation to where, whether the wife or whomever was the guardian over that, the kids, they were able to spend that money because the way the money was set up, it was not set up in a trust or anything to where no one can, kind of make sure the money's being split or done the right way. And so to a degree, that person was able to take advantage of, the actual issue that happened. And it was, sad to hear in most cases in which, the kids can kind of benefit off, the things that their dad had put into play. So, that's technically a lot of people got to work on that when having these life insurance, having different policies, or just having, accounts set up for your kids to where, it's beneficial to have something like a trust or, have some stewards over the accounts that, they're trustworthy to actually make sure these things are being implemented. And going into, actually like life insurance. And he said about this, I'm talking about Alonzo Hall. You can actually look him up on YouTube at Alonzo Hall, the All-Star Advisor. And he was into a discussion actually going about life insurance, in which most people think about life insurance as death insurance, to where you get a bare minimum not to actually save for people in your family. And to a degree, I'm sorry for the people I'm actually can't look in the chat because I'm driving and just, just talking as a drive. But hopefully I stay connected. I'm actually in and out of this rural area. But he was basically breaking it down to where certain people, just get bare minimum life insurance to where they don't want to make anybody rich. And, to a degree, you want your kids to have some type of, struggle in order to, be strong just like you were, as they call it, get it out the mud. And if they were able to get it out the mud and, to kind of get themselves and build themselves up as if the way you build yourself up, hoping them to be successful. Even with Bill Gates, he's kind of using that method for his kids. Um, the vast, wealth that he has, he's only leaving like I think less than 10% to his kids. And that's not saying that he's not giving them profits in the companies that he owns. But far as like the monetary of all the money that he has, he's not leaving that to his kids. And like I said, it doesn't necessarily say that he's not leaving them any kind of profits or, shares within the companies that he owns. But it's just more or less for his money that, to actually leave your kids this much money and for them not to, do the right thing. I actually went into one of Alonzo's luncheons that he had, and it was actually pretty good. Um, he sit up there and had a luncheon to where it was over life insurance, and he had a insurance agent. I'm sorry, there was a lawyer over life insurance and some other legal things. And to a degree, she was sitting there saying that, she was dealing with the trust aspect, and the young man had got the insurance, and I think it was over about I want to say 5 million or so. And to a degree, without the proper education, just actually having the money, he kind of ran it into the ground. He bought a Ferrari. I think that was one of the biggest payments that he started off with. A Ferrari, bought a nice condo or so, and was just taking trips, throwing parties. And one of the biggest ones that she talked about was taking trips to Dubai, um, having different, just living your life out. But more or less within, I think, 3 years or 2 years, the guy was actually broke. You know, not paying taxes, not spending money with nothing coming back in. That's one of the major no's right now to for a lot of people that are much younger is not going to remember this movie, but you can go back and look it up. It's called Brewster's Millions, and I actually seen a Chinese version of Brewster's Million. It was actually pretty good, and it was all about a guy running a soccer team. And sorry, and same along the lines, but just to run down of Brewster's Millions. Um, it was Richard Pryor in the movie, and one of his great family members to a degree. Actually he was the last of kin, and they reached out and you know, guy had multiple millions of dollars, and it was his uh, family members' decision that money was like the root of all evil, and kind of degree discussed him because he hoarded his money and didn't get to enjoy it to the point where he wanted to make him sick of dealing with money. And if he can actually spend all the money, that he can get the, I guess, the bigger prize. I haven't seen this in a long time, so for people that actually seen it, and it's funny, if you can actually correct me sometime in the chat or something. But like I said, uh, for the most part, he had the point of actually spending all this money before he can get the big payout. It's something like spending the sum of 20 million to get 200 or 100 million. You know, and he couldn't give the money away per se to people unless it was for charity, to renting things that he couldn't actually own nothing at the end, you know. So he rented cars, rented hotel to stay in, and just paid for the hotel to be designed a certain, but it was nothing that he was keeping in it, you know. As far as the people, they were renting certain aspects of the design to, you know, make it look the part and what you wanted to look. And investing, he could invest into companies, invest into things, but he couldn't actually get a gain. I mean, to actually invest in a, you know, uh, Tesla car back in the day was kind of crazy. But if the company didn't flop and it made more money, it would irritate him. Everything that he kind of went against to flop and spend money while it actually started doing pretty good, and he would get mad and take that money and invest into other things. And you know to the degree when it almost got to the end, he was pretty much had almost made it, and he was sick, and finally he thought he did it to the guys who actually owned the bank, I guess, that was the trustees over the money, tried to screw him over so they can get the money and keep it in their bank, and had a turn for the worse. But that was one of the forms to where you can have an understanding that having people that you can trust, as far as in your trust, or people that you can deal with, as far as in the trust, that can work for you or actually work against you. But needless to say, he actually got through with it and got the money, and pretty much he was happy, you know. And that's the thing, having your kids having an understanding about money, you know, It's to a point where if you don't grow with money, but to a degree you understand how money works. And when I say how money works, not saying that you just get money in your hand and you can spend it and do whatever you want with it. But the point of you knowing how money work is to get money in your hand and be able to create more. I had this conversation with my oldest son, and I was telling him about my policies, and to the degree I said, well, what if I leave you with $100,000? What are you gonna do with it? And the first thing he said, he was gonna retire, and typical uh, young adult things that can live life and be free. And like I explained to him was, how are you gonna bring money back in? You know, 100,000 this day and time is basically like $1,000. To a degree, 50,000. Well, not even 50,000. I would say 10,000. 100,000 is no more than probably about 10,000. Once you really get started going with the money, it's gone before you know it. You know, I could take $100,000 and invest it into a couple of properties. I could take $100,000, put it in the stock, crypto, stock options, some that can actually keep flipping and give me a return. Or I could just take the money and buy me a nice car. But to the degree of me buying that nice car, um, say something around a Tesla is around 100,000. The Model X, I get a Model X, but where would I have the stake? You know, I could take that Model X and park it at my friend's house because I'm staying with him. He's gonna be looking at me with a Model X. And what can I do with that Model X to make money? I can advertise, put logos on the side to advertise or something. I can go put it in car shows. I can, do other things with it. But as far as me spending 100,000 just on a car, it's not bringing no type of other money in. What good is it? So I was basically telling them to start off getting some investment properties, start up a portfolio, invested it into some stocks, crypto, kind of seeing something the way you can get some dividends back, to a degree, you know, getting the business set up, just telling them, you don't just want to retire this money because even though he was wanting to go somewhere with the in a small country or something like that to where the money can, actually work in his favor. But you got to look at it like this: even when you go over there, you still have to work, to that company, to that country. What's the use of, keeping money in and not having money going back out? That's going to be an issue. You know, you only have money going out, but not bringing money back in. That's going to be an issue. You know, and so that was one of the things that Alonzo always talks about when getting your life insurance. Educating your kids on the knowledge, and that's one of the biggest things that I'm a big advocate on that as well as educating my kids what to do with the money. Even my younger kids now, I set them up, and it's kind of funny that I play these games with them, but I show them actually, what money's gonna do for them. Like when they were younger, I would always take them to the dollar store. I mean, even with Toys R Us, Walmart, one of the biggest stores, dollar store is easy because when they were 3 and 4, just before pre-K, I would always take them there, give them $10. They get 10 toys. I would always do the tax for them. And, to a degree, it was a whole bunch of little toys they were breaking anyway. And, got the big toys at Christmas. But they started saying, oh, man, we have a lot of money. We rich, buying toys and everything. As they got older, I was buying more toys at Walmart, Target, that's a couple of their favorite stores. And, these toys, I was giving them 25 and $50 and showing them. I was like, look, if you save your money, you can get this. But if you spend it, you can get this. So it always roll around that they want the bigger toy, but they don't have the money because I would always, do it every month to the point where or every month and a half or so to the degree. Because I was making decent money for myself to the point where they were able to do that. But I was also showing them how to budget and know how to spend, know when and not to spend, because even though they're older now and they play Roblox a lot, one of the biggest thing with Roblox is, you know, buying those Robux and buying the things that they want. And it amazes me how kids accessorize so many clothes and things and book bags and all this stuff on the game. But in real life, they're more or less looking at, I guess the stun in the game and the show off in the game versus keeping it for real life, valuables. That was big for me. But with this new generation of kids, even with stun on the gram and Facebook and TikTok and Twitter and all this stuff, showing off your pictures, um, it's crazy. They want that instant gratification to where, people are liking them along the lines of what they're providing, entertainment, I guess looks and what they're doing. And it's kind of funny over time, man. You laugh at it and just look at it to the degree. But for the most part, man, teaching them all about money, showing them how to conduct savings, kids having piggy banks, kids, knowing that I'm giving you this money to spend. I actually just recently got from Busy Kids to where you can actually pay their allowance from your card. It's linked to your card, and they only can spend what's on their card. No overdrafts, and it's to the degree they also have it to where they can invest in stocks and also donate to charities. So that's one of the key things. My kids are big on giving for charities. One of my sons, he's too actually how can I put this, too charitable where he gives more than he should, and he wants to spend because he thinks either his dad or mom gonna actually give to him, and he has a kind heart to a point that he wants to give for people in need, while the other one of the other ones are mainly about spending for their gain, even though they'll give someone some money, but it's technically not a lot because they're more or less thinking about themselves, in which if I give you everything then I have nothing. I can give you a little bit, but that's only if I have a little to give. And if I want to do something, I'm going to worry about what I need done first before I technically give you something. I mean, that's something to consider. Actually, when you're, donating and giving people money, you got to worry about yourself. And shout out to Gold Professor and the 9 laws of self-govern. Applied selfishness, not applied because it can be turned on and off. You know, and that's his 9 laws. And like I said, that was law number 3, applied selfishness. So where the selfishness can be turned on and off. You have to think about yourself, but to the degree you can turn it off to think about others as well. You know, and you know, one of the key things in which teaching your kids about money is one of his other rules, and that's the first law, discipline. You know, you got to have the discipline to know what you're doing, stay the course, learning, you know, and taking what you learn and putting it into action. It's one thing to actually read a book on finance and investments, life insurance, and it's another thing you don't actually practice it in your real life. And that's what the issue with most people, they're having, is practicing these things in real life. To the degree we all have, some little issues or faults at hand in which, we have to work on. But, for the most part, dealing in finance, no one is technically, that savvy to where they're coming out the womb like you're born with it. It takes time. You know, how many young people went through so many credit cards before they got it right on spending? You know, you have some people that you, I've known people that blew through credit cards and they had someone to help them straighten out their finance. And I've known people who blew through credit cards that they actually had to do it on their own and come back in and, over time build up their finance by paying off on things to make sure things are done right. You know, for the most part, you know, educational is key. And like I said in the nine laws of self-government, shout out to Gold Professor, is discipline. You know, having that discipline to understand what you're doing, having the discipline to, stay the course. Financial literacy, it's not really taught as much, you know, because you learn about in-home banking, you learn about, having life insurance, pretty much universal life is being the bank. Drop money into a universal life insurance and let it build over time. You're actually going in and borrow money from yourself. And that's one of the other key things I wanted to touch on, which Alonzo spoke on, you know, is providing life insurance to where it's not used as a death insurance, you know, and to a degree, we're using life insurance as a death insurance, buy a little bit of it for term mostly people use, but that term has what it says, a term set. If you don't die within those 10 to 30 years, then that life insurance isn't worth the amount of coverage that you're paying for. It goes then off the cash value. So to a degree, most people, they, it's about 30,000, 50,000, and they're only paying $6 to $10 a month when they're young as a kid. As you get older, you getting into your 30s and going into 40s, then that life insurance, what is it going to do for you? You know, and then you go with whole life insurance. You know, back in the day, it was best to not overcover yourself, but to undercover. To overcover yourself was the best way back in the day to where you have a decent premium to where you can manage. But now the key thing is overcovering yourself to the degree. I'm sorry, getting kind of confused. I'm trying to do two things at the same time. But basically to a degree where you're not overcovering yourself, you're undercovering the policy, but you're putting actually more money into the policy so you can get more cash value in it. So when it comes down to it, I have a $50,000 policy, but if I get a universal policy or just a whole life, preferably I always say universally index, consult your life insurance advisor, preferably like I always talk about, Alonzo, so you can Alonzo Hall, so we can have an understanding. Or if you have life insurance, talk to your life insurance agent to where they can help you, you know, and going through the process, have an understanding of what you're doing with that agent. Ask questions. If you don't know, ask questions. No question is dumb to a degree, because if you don't know, you generally just don't know. Even when it comes down to policies in which, if you're paying on a policy, they have rider policies that which your kids can be implemented onto the policy for low amounts. If you don't know, you just don't know. So that's the whole point of asking, so you can have access to the knowledge. There are some policies that have care policies that are riders onto that policy as well, that's written into the policies. Some people have so many things extra onto their policies that they don't even know, because for one, you never took the time and actually looking at these policies, and you might just going over a review. A lot of people, which I have to end up doing with my policy, is going over a review and seeing all the things that I have in my policies that I never took advantage of. And that's one of the key things that I like dealing with Alonzo. He helped me to understand most of these things that I can take advantage of. You know, even with the policies for my kids, these policies, they have things in them that I actually didn't know, that we had sat down and had a discussion. And so it was always, you know, good to have someone in that field to give you more depth into what you're doing. You can also have a person that's a lawyer, and let's say not even doing a crime. Let's say about a contract. Let's say you're into a contract and something that you're doing might be legal or illegal. And you're talking to your lawyer friend, and they're giving you advices on the contracts, and things that you're doing could be suspect and might be advised not to do from now on, because you can, take someone can take legal action on you for you not knowing. It's just because you're not in the know. you know and to the degree, when it comes down to certain aspects of you learning, it's always helpful to have a close knit or somewhat of a friendly circle of people to where you can call and count on. I mean, just recently there was some issues going along with one of my friends in his garage. You know, I does a lot of handiwork, and he called me with, "Hey, somebody that does work on garages?" I was able to reference him some people that I know easy. You know, that's easily. Say if I have a guy right now that I deal with that does electrician work, pretty good, work for major companies, but he wanted to actually go out on his own instead of working for a company, freelance for himself, and he does pretty well for himself. You know, and getting everything in order as far as his business, it was kind of rough and hard starting off, but over time he did the necessary things to actually work for himself. He's worked for companies years, and giving great benefits to people coming in when you're sharing and working with each other. That's like with certain issues that he have. I took on some responsibility of some jobs that he wasn't obtained to. I mean, he couldn't do. He actually called me, and I got the job done for him, no problem. You know, and having a close circle of friends, it always helps. To where you can work these things out. And that's what I was saying, as far as with the insurance. That's why I always big up Alonzo. As far as the life insurance. Even with tech, I always talk about different tech channels, man. You know, Dr. Dunbar, appreciate you. I just seen the share. One of the guys I can, as far as say science, you know, going to his channel, learn a lot. For me, even to a degree, Dr. Dunbar, he's one of the hardest working, man. This guy has literally 4 channels that, he's in rotation, far as his job as well in the medical field, and to, getting guys into STEM. Um, his sports channel is amazing, man. I mean, Dr. Dunbar, this guy is really into sports, and I'm not even gonna make the joke, but yeah, his Michigan team, man, outstanding. He put in the work to big up his channel. Far as his alma mater, far as with Michigan, and those guys like on their ruthless. The chats and talking about their team, man. You just can't beat the the back and forward in the chat. Sometimes it gets kind of ruthless, man. You got to come in with gloves on. If you don't know, you getting knocked out the chat. I mean, let's just say the least. But even with his entertainment channel, I wasn't getting the actual notifications for it as much, the media entertainment, but I actually just started getting it for the most part. And him breaking down a lot of the movies that he's into and doing reviews for him, you know, to a degree, I can watch it because even if I go watch the movie or not, there's no big spoilers for me because me seeing the movie, knowing things doesn't really spoil it, in my opinion, because I don't watch movies like that anyway. So just, hear the latest and greatest what's going on, to the degree you want to be informed when the movies come out, actually get ready for the go over, to a channel and you've watched the movie, you can actually sit down and have the discussion in the chat, or if he opens up to come on a panel to actually come and review the movie with him. So that's a big thing. But getting back to topic at hand, sometimes these uh, different things have a of its own to where you can walk off the topic. But like I said, having that connection with people, as far as like I talk about with Alonzo, with me going over my policies and having an understanding of what I'm doing with. I actually bought these policies for my younger boys that are 10 to, we both worked and came with a great policy where I gave them a whole life and actually use for themselves or bring it over to their family. You know, I, I actually benefited from this at a young age. My parents was paying into the policy. So when I got older, I would already be getting a job, paying my own policy, and getting more policies on top that I could go into my policy and money out. I had an issue real quick back on. Like I said, first, my parents getting a policy for me when I was younger. I went into the policy stuff I drive. But like I was saying, that me having a policy at a young age to by the time I turn, 20, 25, I could benefit off the policy and buy my first car out of my policy. And I can take on the policy, and increase it or whatever, but have money for my family. You know, let's say something happened to me once I get married and I never got a chance to get a policy. With me having that policy as a young man, I could put my wife on my policy. You know, the policy will be set up. I can go in, make changes to the policy because, the policy is actually for me. And giving my kids that gift is one of the things that, myself on the back for that, having a discussion with my wife. So, that's one of the things that's one of the least thing they don't have to worry about when, going and having a family. Even to a degree, I've noticed a lot when I talk to people who have illness, their parents, wasn't proactive about getting them a policy at a younger age. They wouldn't, be able to actually have a policy because certain people that have, that are, you know, develop cancers or things of that nature, childhood illnesses real at a young age, the policy are way more expensive. And you can always, if you have a policy, you can always add more coverage to the policy once you have it, a little bit, but to policy, yeah. But like I said, to a degree, just trying to get a policy and that illness is already being diagnosed, and to the degree the doctors have already, treated and everything. Now you want to get a policy, even though it's not too, and just having an understanding of the policies that you get, you know, what are the policies being used for? Like I tend to say, which I'm not a professional, but you know, to a degree, a term policy is somewhat, you know, quick and easy, not much in value if you want to spend a little less and get a lot of coverage, but also being young. But to a degree, when you get older, it's always a great way to get a policy to leave money. You know, the older you get, you're not trying to build so much cash value if you haven't already built it to a degree. If you put it into a policy, you know, but it all depends on how you look at you want to actually cover that policy. If it's for your family, term policy is a good policy as well as a whole life policy. But like I said, you got to know what you're doing. Talk to an agent, and they can guide you on that. You know, because you can actually get a whole life policy at an older age. It's going to cost more. But if you overfund, I mean, if you over pay into the policy, you get more benefits into it. You know, and also to a degree with the term policy when you're older. You want to leave more money, get that term policy, pay a large premium for it monthly to the point where, you know, you're getting more overfunded for your family. Then you look at the whole life to a degree. When you're young, whole life is great because it's cheap. When you're older, it's going to cost you a little more, but you're getting benefits from that whole life. You're actually going into the policy. You can make yourself be the bank, you know, and there's ways of scaling that policy to where you start tapping into it, as soon as possible, more or less waiting, the initial 10 to 15 years into that policy, trying to let it build up. And like I said, dealing with an agent, preferably like I always shout out Alonzo Hall, that can help you understand how to scale your policy. you know, and my favorite, universal life, to the point where you're building cash value. And to the degree, like I said, dealing with your agent, you can make sums up to 4 to 7% monthly, better than a bank, you know. And Alonzo had this one where a guy was taking his money and taking his mortgage payments, putting it into the bank, putting it into his life insurance, and borrowing the money right back out and paying his mortgage. He was getting 7% on the on his universal life, which he was leaving 3% in and taking 4% out. You know, and I mean, you actually gotta, like I said, deal with an agent so you can understand this. I can't explain it better as them because, like I said, I'm not an agent. You know, even though I try to, it was a joke for the. Well, he said he was an agent. Hey, it's all jokes, you know, to a degree. But I am giving you information as far as you understanding your options when getting policies. And most people, if you don't know your options, you know, that's the key. Knowing how to move and knowing what are your options is the key in benefiting you to actually make the best of the policies that you have or going to get in the future. So with that being said, I'm actually going to do some more of these, and I'm actually going to start dealing with this rescreen to where, I see that they have a little, things that I can play music in the background. and it's not copyrighted. Just like elevator music to a degree. And mostly, uh, if StreamYard doesn't get their stuff worked out, I'm gonna go ahead and end my subscription and be over here. People have to be just grabbing the links because I move around at work, so I actually need that freedom to not really have a cord, actually talking. That's why I say I'm not going to be going on many panels anymore, in which I should have stopped from the midways. But you just kind of hear things that you got to put your input in, because to a degree, you know, in the words of Raining Woman, that she mics matter, and to the degree, I always try to give my insight on things to the best of my knowledge. I always tell people, with me being in this space, I came into this space. Now it's 16 years in marriage, and giving my insight on, marriage, to say, I did it for 16 years. It can be done. It's up to you. It's up to the person. You know, I always talk about knowledge itself. If you want to get married, what are the key things you need to do in order to have a marriage or to have a successful marriage? You know, to the degree you can't always is going to be 100%, but if you and playing in certain parts in your life, when you want the best for yourself, and if you want the best for yourself, what are you doing? You know, doing the research, having an understanding, getting yourself into. And mainly that's all I try to talk about on these panels, and letting people understand, if you're going to get into it, having an understanding what you're getting into, knowing what you're doing. Knowledge of self. That's always keep pushing. So it's not a one size fit all going into marriage. I'm not a dating coach or a guru or anything, but just saying, you know, marriage might not be, to the degree, isn't for everybody. You know, you got to figure that out for yourself. If you want to get married, you see marriage as a thing for you to do in the future, and then consult wise counsel. I always talk about that. Consulting wise counsel when trying to be married. You know, have an understanding. And to a degree, which I'm always saying, life insurance, life insurance, life insurance. You know, I'm actually going to bring Ramon back on, talking about real estate, getting people involved, because the market right now is up and down. Do you need to buy a house? You know, and he would always say, ain't nothing wrong with buying a house. Everyone needs a house, but to the degree, can you afford it? And if you can afford it, what are the next steps? I'm gonna talk about that on the next one. Probably I'm gonna try to see if I can get him back on. I'm actually got a biz. I got a well, not a business partner, but a friend of mine I actually used to work for. He owned his own trucking business for guys that want to get into box trucks. I got a guy who actually running a business right now. He actually drives for himself. I think he's like a one or two man team, driving 18 wheelers. So I'm gonna see if I can talk to him some more about his business and get him on here. You know, Getting people into the effects on running your business. There's a lady that deals with cosmetics and stuff like that. I'm gonna see if I can bring her up, see if she can talk about her business. Um, what I'm wanting to do is get Nino on here, because Nino been holding back from us. I'm gonna let him talk about it, but I want Nino to get on here. Dealing in the fashion industry, man. Been doing it for years. Talk about some things that he did. As far as me, I was wanting to be a designer. Because I was always into fashion. I kind of had an eye for it. It was funny when I first noticed that I was noticing the difference between navy and black. A lot of people don't, colorblind to that extent. But we're gonna talk about that more on next lives and things of that nature. But like I said, keep pushing this life insurance, man. Health is wealth. Losing weight, having understanding, take care of your health, man. Getting those insurance is key. You got to be healthy, man. You gotta stay the course. Start looking at getting life insurance now. You don't know what the future holds. Anything that's on your medical records, you can't lie. You smoke, you drink, they're gonna find it out with these tests. Anytime you go do a physical, doctor, anything you tell them, your medical records are open. So to a degree, you gotta have an understanding of what you're doing when you're doing these tests. When you're let's say you have something tragic happens to where you get diagnosed with something. You know, you shouldn't be trying to run and get insurance then. You should have been trying to run and get insurance before that. But a lot of people don't know. And to a degree, knowing is half the battle. So, like I say, to next time, a lot of people, we here, we go, and we'll see you. All right, then.